Papyrus. So this site is all about being able to read long podcasts instead of having to watch the full 3 hours. So a great example would be one that's been recently posted here, actually. If I go to, actually these are all breaking point ones. Let me go to a different real example. And you notice that this is on the actual hosted site, on a real domain. The whole way you're going to run this is locally, because there's no way that this site is going to have the exact YouTube video you want. This is a very personal taste kind of thing, right? Like all these are the ones that I've added that I thought were interesting. And, you're going to want, your own ones. And what they are, if you just go into one of these here is, it just takes the entire transcript, which you can get from YouTube, and it then runs it through AI to get a nice, bullet point. These are 18 bullet points, which can really give you just like oftentimes I'll read this and I will not need to watch the video, which I kind of like, but maybe YouTube doesn't. That's why I don't think this site might go anywhere, because there's really no incentive for YouTube to be happy with it, or for even the content creators to be happy with it. But it is available for you locally in this open source code. And if it's just open source and you're running it locally, there's no vector to sue there. But on a big site, whatever, do it. If you do it at scale, it would be a problem. And also doing it at scale would be, you'd pay a lot in AI fees as far as processing every single one of these, because it takes a bit of tokens to take, the full transcript and then produce this. It doesn't take very long to just do one, but doing it at scale would it would go on your credit card and it would add up. Okay, so the one I wanted to show you is a little different, longer, and this will be a good way to show how it's local. Is if I go to, here it is, Pod Papyrus directory I have, and say open. This is the exact same site, but now it's just these HTML files that are local, on this disk. And you notice it'll look a little different here because these I haven't actually pushed to the site. There's this one in particular I want to show you about Amanda Knox. Now, if you don't know who Amanda Knox is, she is the girl that spent 4 years in prison in Italy for, she was wrongly convicted for being involved in her roommate's death. And there's a new movie out about her, produced by Monica Lewinsky on Hulu, that really shows exactly what it's all about. So I got interested in her, and I noticed that there was this 3-hour podcast, on Joe Rogan that she did. Here's the full transcript, right? If I could just read that entire thing, it's 3 hours, right? Or I could go ahead and watch it, it's 3 hours. But just reading these 18 bullet points, I really came away just knowing exactly what I wanted to know about, the 3 hours she spent with Joe. I came away with all these little things that, were fascinatingly interesting. It was the perfect amount of information I wanted. And, sometimes you'll find, gold in these details where you'll just be going along. You read every one sometimes, or sometimes you'll skim. But the one that really got me here was this one. She's pursuing a stand-up comedy career as another form of self-expression, refusing to be limited by others' expectation of how a tragic figure should behave. I had no idea. And so then I Googled a tragic, Amanda Knox stand-up comedy, and sure enough, she's a really good public speaker, and she's obviously really, learned a lot from those 4 years in prison. And so I just thought that was fascinating. So anyway, the way this works is it all involves this little Firefox plugin called StarChive. And StarChive started as, just a way to download YouTube videos using YouTube Download Pro, which is the big open source package to be able to download YouTube videos. And it started, just basically download the video. That's it. I wanted the MP4 that, to actually edit the video. Of course, it came with the sound too, and I started getting into all sorts of things you can do with the sound, especially if you're downloading songs. There's a lot of audio stuff in there. But the thing that I started kind of pivoted towards, and that's why there's these icons that's starting to show. One of the icons is, let me start it up so you don't get this error. These, if I come into here and start run, so now this back end is actually running. It's, a random port, and the Firefox plugin knows to talk to that port. So now if I run this again, you'll see, this is kind of important when you start downloading tons and tons of these videos, because, your disk space starts to fill up. And so this is just showing the overall, this Mac, how much do I have left of this entire Mac? And then the data folder is where it's putting all its videos. And so right now I have very little. I only have, less than 2 gigabytes, and that's taking up, this percentage of the free space. So often if I'm adding lots and lots of videos, I'll see this grow to 50%, and then I'll know that I have to choose what I want to keep. And usually I just delete the entire thing, the data folder, because it's, it's just a bunch of random downloads that I've done throughout the day or week. That's that one. And This one, the copy to the clipboard, was kind of like the first version of Pod Papyrus. I have the hardest time pronouncing Pod Papyrus. And so this one was where you just kind of hovered over the YouTube video you wanted, and then you click this, and then you got the transcript on your clipboard, and then from there you could go and paste it in AI and do what you want. Pod Papyrus just kind of did that on steroids, basically, where you don't have to copy it to your clipboard anymore. Let me just show you the example of how it actually works in YouTube. So if I come to YouTube, and I kind of slide through here and decides the one I want. This is just my feed, but you can go to any YouTube video. In fact, if I don't, that's specifically my feed. But if I go to here it is, the homepage. I can here. Let's pick this one. Trouble on set. Okay. So in order to download, and this is a good example because it's only 5 minutes. But the real value shines when you find 3-hour podcast. I did a 10-hour one once. It had no problem. It did 10 hours. All right, so come over to Star Archive and see it says mode default. So I'm going to change that to Pod Papyrus. And then I come back over here, and when I mouse over it, it turned red. It says transcript downloading. And then if we come back here, let's see make sure we get no errors. So it looks like it's working. So this won't take long because it's it's a 5-minute one. So let's just see what happens. And we'll know when it's done. You see what's saying generating bullets using Quad CI. So that this is the call that takes the longest, right? And depending on how big the text is, the longer it takes. But if I come over here, the way we'll know it's done is, right now there are 1, 2, 3 pending ones. And so, so now it should be up to 4. Or I think we just caught it. There actually were 3. So it was done right before we ran that. And so if I come back here to index, I should have, there it is. That's the latest one. So now, it's that simple as far as, getting the ones you want. So the way I usually do it when I'm, going through my particular feed is rather than clicking on the actual YouTube video, it's just like, ooh, how about this one? And then I come down and sometimes you accidentally do one too, which is no big deal. Or you come down and if you're very careful of how you hover over, you can make sure you get just the one you want, right? And so anyway, that is, Pod Papyrus in a nutshell. It's all open source, including this template, to build this. And so, the way I see people using this is basically to developers. It's not really meant for, someone that's not technically savvy to be able to set this all up, because you do have to be able to install the plugin. Installing the plugin involves going to about debugging this Firefox, and you have to click this load temporary add-on. And every time I make a change to the extension, I always have to click this reload, right? And then that's just the front end. That's the thing that's making YouTube do these highlights and making it actually send the information to the back end. And then the back end itself, of course, you have to be able to run, and it's a Go back end. So you'd have to be able to download all the source, type Go build. So you don't have to be a genius to run it, but you probably wouldn't be able to give it to someone over 50 that doesn't have computer skills. Enjoy your summaries.